Welcome back to the channel Coin Dealer everyone, and thank you for joining today's exciting deep dive where we uncover one of the most fascinating stories in the world of rare coins, a tale that begins with something so small and ordinary yet turns into something unbelievably valuable. Because today we're talking about the legendary 1979 1-cent penny coin that has been reported in certain rare instances to be worth as much as $81 million, a staggering difference from its humble 1-cent face value. And the reason for this extraordinary leap in value lies in the mistakes, mint errors, and unusual characteristics that surround particular coins from that year, making them a target for collectors, historians, and investors who understand that in numismatics the tiniest details can transform a pocket change item into a priceless treasure. So let's take a journey into why this coin has become the subject of so much fascination and speculation, beginning with the fact that 1979 was a time when the US Mint was mass-producing billions of pennies, primarily made of copper at the time, which makes it especially intriguing because any slip-up in production during such high-volume minting could lead to anomalies, and anomalies in coinage are exactly what collectors chase after, since rarity is the engine that drives value in the collectibles market, and for the 1979 penny, the rarity arises from a handful of reported errors that distinguish certain coins from the rest of their billions of identical counterparts, with one of the most talked about errors being the misstrike or off-center strike, where the stamping machinery did not align perfectly with the blank planchette, causing a distorted image, which makes the coin not only visually different but also rare. And then we consider double dies, where due to a flaw in the die-making process the coin ends up showing doubled letters or numbers, often noticeable in the date or the inscription such as Liberty or IN God We Trust. And when such doubling is dramatic and clear, collectors go wild because it's not just an oddity, it's a certified error that ensures the coin cannot be replicated and exists in only a very limited number, which skyrockets its desirability. But perhaps the most intriguing and valuable possibility tied to the 1979 penny is the mint mark error, particularly involving coins that were struck with either no mint mark when they should have had one, or with a mint mark in the wrong shape, size, or placement, and mint marks, which identify where a coin was produced, such as Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco, are tiny yet critical details because variations here can mean the difference between an ordinary coin and a $1 million piece. And while most 1979 pennies are completely ordinary copper coins weighing 3.11 grams, some have been reported with strange anomalies, like the wrong planchette being used, which could mean a penny was accidentally struck on a dime's blank or even a foreign coin blank, instantly creating an error coin that defies expectations and stirs up massive collector interest. And when the numismatic community confirms such an error, its rarity multiplies its worth by astronomical levels, leading to incredible valuations in auctions. So when we hear about a 1979 penny reaching a valuation of $81 million, we're essentially hearing the story of how unique errors, mystery, collector passion, and rarity combine into a perfect storm of value. Because the actual copper and face value of the coin remains unchanged, it is still a 1-cent piece, but the market dictates that when something is one of a kind, its worth transcends logic, and so collectors are willing to pay beyond belief to own that piece of history. And what makes this even more fascinating is that millions of people might pass over a 1979 penny every day without realizing that hidden among them could be a fortune. Because while most are ordinary, the slim chance that one of them contains that critical error fuels both curiosity and treasure-hunting instincts, pushing enthusiasts to examine their pocket change more closely, and in many ways, this elevates the penny from being just a coin to being a cultural phenomenon, a symbol of how mistakes can sometimes lead to greatness. And this is a concept that excites collectors because unlike modern precision minting where errors are rare and often caught quickly, older coins like those from 1979 were more susceptible to mistakes slipping through the cracks, and once those flawed pieces were released into circulation, their fate became a matter of chance, winding up in a jar, in a cash register, or in a collector's hands decades later. And what drives the high valuation is not only the error itself but the story it carries, the sense that holding such a coin is like holding a secret piece of history that almost wasn't meant to exist. And since demand in numismatics is built on rarity, narrative, and desirability, a single coin that ticks all those boxes can indeed command values that seem unimaginable. So while it may sound unbelievable that a penny could reach into the tens of millions, the truth is that in the rare coin market, precedent shows us that collectors have often paid extraordinary sums for pieces with historical weight and verified errors. And this is why the 1979 penny continues to intrigue and captivate audiences, because it represents the ultimate dream scenario, finding Unimaginable value in the most unexpected of places, so the lesson here is simple yet powerful. Always pay attention to the details of your coins. Check the mint marks, examine the lettering, look for doubling, weigh the coin, because you never know when you might be holding a small copper disc that the world sees as just 1 cent, but the right collector, the right market, and the right era could transform into a treasure worth millions. And that is the magic of the 1979 1-cent penny, a coin whose mystery and mistakes have made it legendary and a story worth sharing again and again. Today, as we dive into one of the most fascinating stories in the world of coins and collectibles, a story that centers on the unassuming 2010 1-cent penny that you might easily overlook in your pocket change, but that, under very rare circumstances, can be worth an astonishing $43 million, an amount so mind-blowing that it takes us into the mysterious realm of minting errors, historical mistakes, misstruck features, and the sheer unpredictability of how something so small can transform into a treasure far beyond its face value. And to understand why such a coin can command such a massive figure, we need to go deeper into the mechanics of coin production, the types of minting anomalies that can occur, and the extreme rarity that makes collectors lose sleep at night over the possibility of finding such a piece in circulation. Because in 2010 the United States Mint was producing billions of pennies in their usual copper-plated zinc composition, stamped with Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile on the obverse and the Union Shield design on the reverse. Yet when billions of coins are struck, the margin for error always exists, and sometimes those errors are so unusual or so dramatic that they instantly become legendary among numismatists. For example, a coin might be struck on the wrong planchet, it might carry a doubled image due to a die clash, it might have a misaligned strike, an off-center design, or even a wrong mint mark that was either misplaced, omitted, or incorrectly applied. And with the 2010 penny, the stories that push its value into the multi-million-dollar territory often revolve around such highly improbable combinations of errors, because while a minor doubling might only fetch a few $100s, a coin that contains several extreme anomalies all at once, say, a double die obverse, a wrong planchet, and a mint mark that should never have existed, becomes a one-of-a-kind artifact. And rarity drives value to unimaginable levels, and the possibility that a coin like this slipped past quality control and survived the minting process to end up in the wild makes collectors dream of sifting through jars of pennies in hopes of stumbling on the jackpot. Now when you hear the figure of $43 million, you might wonder how any penny could ever justify such a price tag, but in the world of rare collectibles, the laws of ordinary economics bend. Because when something is unique and cannot be replicated, its value is defined not by utility but by the desperation of collectors to own it. And with the 2010 penny, the reported example combines a cascade of mistakes that experts believe should never have coexisted, yet somehow they did, and the coin became something of a legend whispered about in auctions and among coin enthusiasts, with its supposed misstruck details, its mystery mint mark anomalies, and the possibility that it might even have been struck on a foreign planchet intended for another denomination or another country, because the US Mint has had such mix-ups in the past, like cents struck on dime planchets or coins made from leftover foreign blanks, and when something like that appears tied to a recent year like 2010, it becomes even more extraordinary since modern minting technology makes such errors nearly impossible, which only adds to the aura and the mythos. Collectors and investors are not just buying a coin in such a case. They are buying a once-in-a-lifetime phenomenon, a piece of history wrapped in a tiny copper-colored circle that connects the ordinary world of pocket change with the extraordinary world of fortune. And to think that a coin with a face value of just 1 cent could climb to a worth of $43 million is a testament to how errors, mistakes, and anomalies carry narratives that humans crave, because humans love the story of the underdog, the improbable survivor, the overlooked object that becomes priceless. And that is exactly the emotional pull that drives demand for such a penny. And when you factor in the mint mark element, things get even more intriguing, because mint marks denote the location where a coin was struck: Philadelphia, Denver, San Francisco, and so on. And if a coin carries the wrong mark, or carries a mark in an unusual place, or even has remnants of 2 marks overlapping due to a die change, it instantly becomes a unique variation. And in the case of a 2010 penny alleged to be worth $43 million, part of the fascination lies in the mint mark anomaly that suggests it was either mistakenly placed, removed and reapplied, or combined with another error in a way that cannot be replicated, thus making it a single specimen in existence. And because collectors prize uniqueness above all else, they assign astronomical value to it, creating headlines and fueling even more interest, so when people hear this story they rush to check their own pennies, hoping to find die breaks, doubling, unusual metal compositions, or mismatched mint marks, even though the chances are slimmer than winning the lottery, yet the hope remains, and that is why the story of the 2010 penny valued at $43 million continues to captivate, because it represents the dream that hidden treasures might still exist in everyday life, that mistakes can create masterpieces, and that something designed to be nearly worthless can transcend its intended purpose and become a legend. So next time you have loose change in your hand, especially a penny from 2010, don't just dismiss it as small and insignificant, because the world of numismatics has shown us time and again that every coin carries secrets, and sometimes those secrets can be worth a fortune far beyond imagination. Where we dive into one of the most fascinating and surprising stories in the world of rare coins, a story that takes something so common, so ordinary, that most people overlook it every day, and reveals how it can be worth a jaw-dropping fortune. Yes, we are talking about the 1995 1-cent penny coin, a coin with a face value of just a single cent, but because of errors, mistakes, and rare mint mark anomalies, this little copper-plated coin has been valued at an astonishing $76 million, making it one of the most talked-about pieces among collectors and enthusiasts alike. And what makes it even more fascinating is how something so small and seemingly insignificant can hold within it a story of history, chance, human error, and incredible value. So let's unfold the details and possibilities that contribute to why this 1-cent penny has gained such mythical status in the numismatic world. First, we need to understand that most pennies minted in 1995 are extremely common. Millions were struck and circulated, but just like in any manufacturing process, sometimes mistakes occur, and in the world of coin minting these errors can sometimes create coins so rare that their value skyrockets into the millions. One of the key aspects that make the 1995 penny stand out is the double die error, an error that happens when the die used to strike the design onto the coin is misaligned during production. This results in a doubled image, often most visible in the lettering such as the word liberty, or in the motto "In God We Trust," or in the date itself, and in some cases this doubling is very clear and obvious even to the naked eye, which immediately makes those coins rare and highly sought after by collectors. The 1995 double die penny is one of the most famous error coins of the modern era, and while many examples of it exist and sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on condition, it is the rarest variations of these errors that can push the price into astronomical territory. Now, when we talk about $76 million, it might sound unbelievable at first, but remember that the world of rare coins is driven not just by metal value or face value but by rarity, demand, provenance, and in some cases even by legendary stories attached to a single coin. The particular penny that is said to be worth $76 million has a combination of extreme rarity, unique minting errors, and historical intrigue. There are reports that this coin carries a rare mint mark anomaly where the usual mint identification, such as D for Denver or S for San Francisco, is either missing, misplaced, or appears in a form not consistent with normal minting practices. Such anomalies can happen if the die is altered or if the mint mark was accidentally left off during production, and because such mistakes are so incredibly scarce, they drastically increase the value of the coin. Another factor is the condition of the coin, known as its grade. In the world of numismatics, coins are graded on a scale from worn and circulated up to mint state or even proof condition, where the coin has never been touched or has only the tiniest imperfections. When an error coin such as the 1995 double die penny is discovered in pristine condition, especially with a mint mark error, its value multiplies enormously, making it almost priceless to collectors. And beyond the technical details, the story of such a coin is what captures imaginations. Think about it. A penny you could find in your change one day could actually turn out to be worth more than a mansion, more than a sports car collection, even more than the earnings of famous celebrities. And that's the magic of coins with errors. They remind us that mistakes can sometimes create treasures. So when we hear that a 1995 penny with unique errors could fetch $76 million, it isn't just about the physical coin. It is about the rarity, the market demand, the collectors who are willing to pay record amounts to own a piece of history that no one else has. And when auctions take place for these rare specimens, the bidding wars can drive prices into record-breaking territories. The psychology of collecting plays a big role here too, because for some collectors, owning that one-of-a-kind coin is not just about money, it's about prestige, legacy, and being a part of history itself. This is why such coins don't just sit in drawers. They become centerpieces of collections. sometimes even displayed in museums, sparking curiosity in people who never before thought twice about the change in their pockets. It is also important to consider that stories about coins like the 1995 penny inspire people everywhere to start looking more closely at their own coins, carefully checking dates, mint marks, and unusual features, and indeed there have been countless stories of people finding valuable coins in jars, piggy banks, or inherited collections, which means that the possibility of someone stumbling across something worth millions is never zero, and this is why the tale of the $76 million penny spread so quickly across media, sparking fascination and sometimes disbelief, but it continues to underline the idea that what may seem ordinary could turn out to be extraordinary. So while most 1995 pennies are worth just 1 cent, and many double-die errors are worth a few hundred or thousand depending on condition, the extreme case with the rarest combination of errors, mint mark anomalies, and pristine condition, tied with collector demand, is what fuels the claim of this staggering $76 million valuation. Whether one ever finds such a coin or not, the lesson remains clear: never underestimate the value hidden in the details, and never overlook the everyday items you encounter, because sometimes the rarest treasures are hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone curious enough to notice. And that is the fascinating world of the 1995 1-cent penny that turned into a legend worth $76 million.